It's 106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
Good morning, Vietnam!
Let's get this show on the road.
Before you say anything, prepare to shut the fuck up.
Screw me. I ripped ass at the ATM.
McLovin! Nice!
Sit back, relax, and enjoy irrelevant platitudes.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to episode number 67 of Irrelevant Platitudes. I am your host, Peter Benici, here with
Amy.
I didn't tell you that was going to happen.
Hi.
Amy Wright filling in for Liz and James, or Lil and James, and we also have Liz here, and the lovely
guys.
Chris from CitySwoon. How you doing, buddy?
Good. I'm very good. Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming in. I've taken my headphones off now to make things a little bit more calm. So I'll hit everyone with the intro today because we've got a very, very special collaboration that we've had last week into this week.
Yep.
Just covering what we did. So if anyone was watching on socials, you would have noticed that myself and the lovely lady in the back went to a speed dating session on Friday.
Sure did.
Successfully.
So I'll cue up the saucy little intro that we have. Today, we pull back the curtain on the modern phenomenon of speed dating. In collaboration with CitySwoon, one of the pioneers of speed dating in the digital age, we're offering our listeners an exclusive behind-the-scenes glimpse of a real speed dating event. Together, let's explore the whirlwind of fast-paced romance, split-second first impressions, and unique challenges and thrills that come with the territory. So there we go, guys. How was it, Liz? Just tell us. I want to get your first impressions of how everything was for you.
I was really nervous, but I really felt comfortable going into a place where it wasn't not as formal as what I thought it was going to be.
Okay,
I think everyone's seen the movie Hitch. And you know in Hitch how they so everyone has like the sit down table and the guys move every 10 minutes with the bell and it's all very formal.
Because it wasn't that, was it?
No,
Like,
it was
there
really good. So
different.
you had to sign up and you had to have a profile picture. So I picked a really nice one of myself.
Thanks for doing that.
Yeah. But then I realized, oh God, I had professional makeup. So I had to like up my game to actually go so people could recognize me.
Oh, did you? You went the
I
extra
did.
mile.
I went the extra mile. I went red lipstick to match my red lipstick profile. And when I got there, we had a drink on arrival, so I could just stand there and relax and look around the room. And then I got a text message, and it showed me the profile picture of the person I was meeting with. So I actually knew
kind
who
of
to
the
look
format
for
the whole evening, right?
Yeah,
Like
so you get a text message every time you've got a new date coming up, and then as you're walking to the new date, you can rate the last one, which was so much nicer. And you could pick where you were going to sit. So we could be outside having a vape, we could be sitting at the bar, we could, I had one guy buy me a drink because I was out of drinks. So
Why
I was like,
not?
I'll get you a drink. And I was like, oh, that's great.
It was very organic.
So it was really nice. And it was a really nice organic way to talk to people. And I met a lot of different personalities that I probably wouldn't have matched with if it was on like a dating app. It was a really good experience. And I'll be going again. I made some good girlfriends as well.
Yeah, you did actually.
Awesome. Yeah, it was a really good way
She's
to...
the queen of the event by the end of it. Guys and girls just chomping away to get a
It was
couple
nice.
minutes.
It was nice to actually meet other single women in the same sort of mindset as me. So like if you don't have that in common with like your circle, it was nice to sort of sit around with to chat with other people. And it was Friday night, so people were getting very loose. So it was really good. Very honest. I got a lot of honesty, which was nice.
Good.
Perfect. So it was great. It was fantastic.
It really was.
And I've done the world's greatest faux pas. And I haven't introduced Chris yet. We've been talking. So obviously to anyone listening, we've got Chris from CitySwoon here with us tonight in the studio. Thanks for coming in, man.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for making the trip all the way down from Sydney, my friend.
Oh, look, someone's got to do it. I was leaving the balmy climate of Sydney to come to this wonderful hellhole.
Absolute Arctic fucking gale force winds and everything.
It makes you appreciate the warmth.
That's right. But the warmth of your welcome this evening is more than made up for it.
Thanks, man.
Oh, stop.
We try and do what we can.
I mean, the White Claw's not,
That's
not hurting.
They don't go too far. But I guess if you just want to give the guys a bit of a background into... Liz covered how CitySwoon is different, but when did CitySwoon start? How did it start? And kind of what brings us to today?
So we started in 2014 in Sydney. It was actually set up by a married couple, Brett Cooster and Louise O'Connor, and they decided, Louise has a programming background. She's an absolute genius in my opinion. Like in my head, she just sits in a dark room with like Matrix style monitors all over the place. But she has this tech background, and Brett has a sort of very entrepreneurial spirit, and they decided that they wanted to build a company that actually does something really fun. And, you know, instead of, you can choose a million things to get into, but, you know, dating and love and romance and relationships, that's a product that everyone wants in their life at some point. And so they had this idea of revolutionizing speed dating and bringing it into the 21st century. You know, speed dating's been done around the world for about 30 years or so. And it is very much like you described, your initial thoughts on how it was going to be alike. You know, it's very much conveyor belt, stale function room in a bar where, you know, women are lined up and men just go bounce from table to table to table every few minutes.
Because you never actually normally speed dated, have you? Like
no, this was
the
my first dating experience in a very, very long time.
So it was almost really perfect. You had this organic, non-forced situation. Because I think we were talking before, you basically sit across from someone. I didn't even realize, I just assumed, because obviously we come from the dating app world, that the matches are there. But you forget with the other speed dating, you just turn up and you sit across from a random.
You sit across from a random, and all you have to go on is a name. You know, everyone's wearing a name tag that's probably peeling off. We were joking about it earlier on at one of those events.
Awkwardly positioned.
You don't want to keep looking down at the name tag because, you know, you might be,
name.
You know. So they decided to start this company up and put a bit of tech behind it. And so by making it mobile, by matching people up through their mobile phones, it means that you have a much more organic feel to the event itself, as opposed to just rocking up, being locked into place at the same table all night and not being able to move. And dates are 3 minutes long, and, you know, you can't even go to the bathroom. You can't go and get a drink at the bar, and, you know, all of those sorts of things.
Yeah.
Whereas the way that, and Liz did a great job of actually describing how the events run. It's nice to hear that from the other side of it. Is the idea was to make these events feel as little like a speed dating event as possible, and make it feel like you're just on a night out in a cool bar, meeting a few people along the way.
And that's one thing I wanted to point out too. The venue you guys had was fucking fantastic. Like it was just us in there, but it did almost feel like the venue was completely open.
Well, that's how it's designed to be. Is we're able to get these really top tier venues because all we're doing is bringing a group of people in, and we run a lot of the events side by side with the public in there as well, because no one really knows that something's going on because there is no name tags. There's no big speech being given. There's just a
wasn't. You don't even think about it. There was no sort of
cool.
You say hi and then you sit down and go.
I was actually just wondering, do you sort of MC it? And you're like, okay, guys, time to move to the next.
No, that kind of stuff, in my opinion, is so outdated. It sort of takes me back to my, youthful days in Europe, going to these 18 to 30s, sort of tours where you just have
bracket.
You just have
wide.
Good spread.
You just have, some guy half pissed standing on a stage, basically just shouting out about how everyone's going to get laid that night, and there's no, I feel like that puts you into an even more of a defensive mindset if you go to something like that. Whereas, we want you to rock up as though you're turning up for a date, and then you just sort of segue into the evening really nice and smoothly. That's the whole idea behind it.
It's like natural, feels natural.
That's
like
that. Yeah,
that's cool.
And that's the whole thing. And the sort of added benefit of that, I guess, is if you are more relaxed like that, then your inner personality, you're able to showcase yourself a lot more because you're not as nervous as you are. Once you're probably nervous when you arrive, but once things get going, and you probably found this, Liz, you kind of just fall into the night, and then it just flows really smoothly. And that's the whole idea. And the more relaxed you are, the more you are, and then you're able to actually come across a lot better to someone who you're meeting for the first time.
And that's what it's about, right? Is conveying that your truest you as quickly as possible, because it was nervous when we got there. Like you could even we said as we were walking in, like we bumped into someone that was attending the event, and because the front door was closed, she wasn't sure, and we're like, it's actually around the back. And then like she just actively didn't want to walk in with us because everyone was like all nervous, and sort of there was someone else coming in.
She was one of the ones that got very loose towards the end of the evening. She got some she had a lot of courage in her. Let's just put it that way.
Too much Dutch courage.
But then it shows the difference. Once you're in a comfortable scenario, it was maybe 20 minutes later, like you said, completely different. Like fantastic, ready to kind of get that. And when you're out and about, most of the time you won't sort of get that. You'll have your Tinder dates and it's always awkward for, sort of that first, I guess, full date, really. Like, it's been a while since I've Tinder dated, but...
Oh, has it? I'm only kidding. Good.
I keep forgetting that...
that I'm your girlfriend? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Got to be on my best behavior.
No, he doesn't. You don't, babe. It's fine. I was going to say, I feel like when you're acting that... When you let your guard down and you're more relaxed and being your natural self, don't you think you're more likely to meet the right person? Because you're like showing the real you. You know, when you put that airs and graces thing on and you... I don't know. I just feel like if you're really being you, you're going to attract.
You do have like I guess the sale version of you, right? Like you're pushing forward all like your best things,
best foot forward.
Yeah, and then eventually, and the more comfortable you get, the more I guess, in a safer zone, you can exhibit kind of those little subtleties that are you.
Totally.
That because you really want to get that out of the way as quick as you can if you're seriously dating. I guess if you're mucking around, it doesn't really matter. But
even that, I mean. People have different motivations for coming along to these kind of events.
Yeah, how do you find with the groups do you get?
You mainly find people our prices aren't the cheapest, so it kind of,
which I think is a good thing. Based on the people that were there,
it does filter. You're right.
We agree. It filters, but it filters intent as well. Because if all you're looking for is a hookup or something like that, there are a
cheaper ways to do
it.
Save your money.
Free dating apps out there in the world that you can do that with. Whereas you find that most people are, if not invested in trying to find their, Mr. or Mrs. Right or their soulmates and all that, which is impossible to predict in any scenario. But you've got people who are at least open to the idea of meeting people from different walks of life and different, social circles and different backgrounds and all sorts of things like that. And that makes... that actually opens people's eyes and makes them more relaxed in that scenario. And, some people may come along with the motivation of just looking for one particular thing, but they'll probably find themselves sort of filtered out naturally throughout the course of the evening by the people that they meet.
Think about it like that. Yeah. Because it's always going to kind of, it will just naturally kind of find its way. I guess, so... You said you've attended events in the past, kind of, early days and all that sort of stuff. How did you find it when you first started?
Myself going speed dating?
Yeah.
I've never actually been to one of our events.
Sorry, yes.
Because, slight conflict of interest.
Yeah, 100%.
You're like, I geared this in my favor.
And it is, it is a tech. I was very lucky to jump into CitySwoon in the very early days. I've been with them around 9 years now. So just not long after they started. So I've been there throughout a lot of the development process of things, but I've been to a lot of other speed dating companies events because I genuinely believe when I am single, when I'm not seeing anyone, I believe in what we do as a concept. Yeah, so I do go and meet people. I'm over the dating apps. I'm not a particular fan of them. And it doesn't matter whether I've done a ton of them or not. I still feel nervous when I go along to these things because you don't know what you're going to meet, who you're going to find. I feel like any time that you go to a date and you're not nervous,
it's a good sign that you should not like.
I think that you have to have the right mixture of excitement and nerves when you go along to any, whether it's a first date, whether it's a second date, whether it's a dating event or anything like that. If you're not, it means one of two things, in my opinion. A, you're not that bothered or invested by it, in which case that your energy, people feed off that, and you're not going to get the outcome that you're looking for. Or you're just an arrogant prick and you think that you're above whatever you're going to, whether it's a one-on-one date or whether it's a dating event, in which case then you're not going to get what you're looking for either. So,
and that's right, because the nerves will settle in when you feel like you've got something to lose, and that really shows that you're really connected and in the situation.
Exactly.
Because if you're sitting back and you couldn't give a fuck, it's more kind of like you need to reassess kind of where you're at and why you're doing what you're doing. And I think you're right. The intention of signing up to something like speed dating is a good filter in general, because you're very much looking for.
That's the number. That's the first filter that's in there, because you've got someone who is outgoing enough to give it a crack and is prepared to come along and invest their time and their money into doing it. Yep. So instantly you've wiped out the people who are just sitting there swiping on the toilet.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. I've never thought about that. That's where they're sitting when they're doing this.
I actually had so a few years ago, I ran an event in a CitySwoon event in Sydney, and this it's fairly anonymous. His name is Dave the dentist. I remember he was a dentist, very tall, very good looking man. and very popular with the ladies at this event, but also really nice, very charismatic. And I was chatting to him at the end, and I just wanted to get a sense for why he'd signed up to one of our events and, you know, what he thought of it. And he said to me, look, honestly, I've been using, you know, a number of the dating apps for a few years now, and I had this sudden epiphany the other morning. I woke up and I went, you know, did my morning business on the toilet
again,
and he said
the mother of his children.
He said I suddenly realized that one day potentially my children might say, Dad, what was it like the first time you saw Mum? And his answer would be, I swipe right whilst having a shit.
Yeah. Oh my God.
You know, and he literally just went, and that was it. I deleted them and I looked up, you know, speed dating, and I came on. And he actually ended up meeting someone and marrying her from that event that night.
Good on you, Dave.
Well done, Dave.
Good on you for getting up the shitter.
But I think that sentiment, especially now, seems to be almost gone to want to meet someone organically. And I kind of hope through, I guess, conversations like we're going to have today, and going forward, we try and have these as much as we can on the pod, that it very much is a different scenario when you meet someone organically. Even, I mean, you could argue and say, hey, you know, you're signing up on an app or whatever to do this, but you've still got that you're going to go to a place. There's the motivation to sit down and be in that awkwardness on purpose because you want to see if there's something there worth losing or worth, you know, giving it a crack. And it does seem like once you remove that element from dating, we lose the kind of magic, the stories about meeting people.
Totally.
Well, that's part of the problem with dating apps. And don't get me wrong, they have their place, and I'll never knock them.
Yeah, and of course, like
except for some of the, you know, the
met.
Ashley Madisons and those in the world. Where
Not a fan.
You won't mind me. You won't find me naming too many companies in a negative light, but not a fan of not a fan of that. But you know, I think that coming along to these kind of events and putting yourself back out there again is one of the most important ways that people can demonstrate what they're looking for without having to actually say it out loud.
Yeah. It's very empowering.
You know, it's a way of expressing your intention without having to be on a dating app and sending the message, what are you looking for?
Yeah.
Which is, you know, one of the most commonly asked questions on a dating app when you match with someone, but one of the hardest to answer for starters when you don't even know that person.
Yeah.
And there's so much nuance to whatever answer you give to that it ends up, you just end up trotting out and, you know, platitudes really. Irrelevant platitudes.
I like it.
I never thought about that. I never thought about that. That's so accurate because you, like if somebody makes it look like they're looking for a hookup, then I'd be like, oh, bye. But then what am I going to say? I'm here looking for a husband. Like that's thirsty ass, and that's terrifying. And it's like, well, I don't mean a husband. I mean a serious.
My best friend who was single for, I won't say his name.
It's not Dave the dentist.
He was fine. he was single for a few years in Sydney. He came along to my events. He used a lot of the dating apps, and he had, in my opinion, probably the greatest answer to that question. Whenever he was asked it, you know, what are you looking for? And he said, somewhere in between a one-night stand and marriage, but I don't know where in the spectrum it sits, kind of thing. And
to everyone listening, you're welcome. That's fantastic. It's one of the best answers to that question I've ever heard.
I agree. I agree. And
it's in your bio now.
And he, you know, and when he first told me that, I thought, well, that's great because it answers the question without making him look like a dick and without making him look like a super clingy man.
Yeah, it's very honest. It gives you kind of an idea of where he's going, without completely taking the obvious off the table.
100%, and it's also general enough that anyone can use it and it's accurate. Yeah.
And importantly, it's honest.
Exactly.
Right? And I think that's the key thing. But I do want to digress quickly. And Liz, we've got your footage here. Would you like to see what we've compiled?
Yeah, let's do the unveiling of the video.
Okie dokie, let me keep that on over. Do you want to chuck the headphones on so you can hear it?
I can hear it. It's okay.
No, you can use mine. I've heard it many times before.
Will I not hear it if I don't wear them?
No, of course. All right, guys. So to everyone listening, we're about to cycle through. If you are listening to the audio podcast, I strongly recommend jumping on Spotify or YouTube and watching the video.
Because it's going to be super cute.
Yeah, fucking oath.
Because I look great.
Once we get there we go. A cute little. I did put that in there for you. All right. So we are, 7 minutes away from your date? I'll step back a bit. How you feeling?
Nervous.
Very nervous. How long's it been since you've had like a blind date?
I don't think I've ever been on a blind date.
Okay. It looks pretty big, pretty busy. It's kind of action-packed at the moment, guys. So we don't have any information on the first date. How many dates did they say you're having for the evening?
Didn't say.
Nothing?
No, not yet.
Excellent.
Very ominous.
All right. Well, we'll check in after the first date.
Yeah.
We'll get a little update and we'll see if it's a yes or a no. Good luck.
Thank you.
And have fun.
Woo!
Okay. So at that point, we didn't check in with Liz at all throughout the entire evening.
I thought there was dating footage.
No, there is. There's some coming. There is some coming.
Oh, God,
but we didn't manage to get a chance to talk to her.
Just straight after the first one.
Because honestly, once the first date starts, it becomes so organic and so flowy that everyone's kind of talking to everyone else.
You don't realise,
and you can't.
But there's also no bell, so there's no like ding next. It was just, I got a text message, but I'm enthralled in what we're talking about. But I'll just get my phone out and not look at you and look down, and you're like, oh.
That's a good sign, by the way, because if you don't want to move on to the next date, it's probably a good. Because there are some dates.
I'm quite polite.
There are some dates that
someone up. Shut up.
There are some dates that you might be on where you're just staring at your phone, waiting for the next message to come through.
Yep. Oh, that's actually good to know. So
and I can confirm in the room as the fly on the wall, there were a few people looking at their phones like, when the fuck
I actually got one guy. It was very bizarre. He actually rated me while I was watching. I was like, dude, that's not okay. I can see what you're doing. I appreciate your rating, but don't while I'm watching.
Oh, maybe it was a quiet, polite flex. Like, here's the is it out of 5?
It wasn't a flex. I think it was literally like, I've got to go to the next one. I'm going to press yes.
Just to explain what Liz means by the rating there. So we after each of the dates that you have at a CitySwoon event, you have the chance to provide feedback about the person you've just been talking to, and that's 5 emoji to choose from. So from sad face to happy face, and in between. And then it's a little bit like when you get
very happy.
Give me a happy face.
It's a little bit like when you get an Uber. You rate the driver, and then it comes up and asks you, what was so good about the driver? Well, it's the same about our dates. Now it's confidential, the attributes that you select, but you can, if it's a 5-star rating, for example, you can put down sparks were flying, or intelligent, or great sense of humor, and all those sorts of things. And so it's interesting that he sort of displayed his screen to me.
He wasn't discreet.
But I'll tell you a funny story about when we first implemented that live sort of rating system, which was about a year before COVID. And we had been talking about it for a while. We decided to go down the emoji route instead of the stars because we thought it was a little softer, not quite as brutal.
It's more dating appropriate too, I think.
And my suggestion, which I thought was genius, was
if you don't say so yourself,
you have 5 emoji which are sort of grayed out, if you like, and then whichever one you select turns to a different color. So green for like the smiley face, for example, and the red for stop, don't go anywhere near me, sort of thing. And so we thought, as a management team and a development team, that's great. And so the very first event that we did with this live rating system, I went along and hosted because I wanted to see it in action. And the end of the first date ended, and suddenly around the room you could see everyone's phones light up with the color that they'd selected, and we just hadn't thought. Thought about how it was going to be projected off the screen of a bright phone. So there was all these sort of green faces, and then the
awkward red one in the back.
Red one just. And I got on the phone immediately to the development team, and I was like, okay, we need to get rid of it. We can't do anything about it this event, but before the next one, we've got to get rid of this.
No more color.
It was 100% one of those ideas that you come up with that sounds great in theory, and then in practice, you just go, oh my God.
Oh, no.
I thought red meant love.
It's red for Valentine's.
So for the rest of the evening, everyone's kind of rating.
And also, don't think about this: the one colorblind humans in the back. They're like, we'll go with the semi-gray. That'll work out, all right. We'll see how that goes. But we've got some more footage of just kind of the general vibe in the room.
Dating in action.
There we go. So this was the lovely Steph, James, and Steph 2.
Let's go. That's so fucking funny.
So it looks like I'm following this guy, but we are. So this is just before the next date kicks off. So everyone's kind of waiting. As you can see, it's like super cute. People have got, that's Liz in action. So that footage that we just showed was the in between point. So one thing that I thought was it was like it was the most heartwarming thing you'll ever see, right? Because you get like a photo of the person, and then like a name, and you're trying to find them, and it's like these two people kind of walking around a space looking for each other, and then they find them, and then there's the smile, and then the sit, and like the cute little kind of get to know you, and it was one of those things that you don't see going out because it's not a normal thing, right?
That's actually lovely.
Yes,
I felt that.
There's a bit of science behind that as well, because when you do finally find each other at the event, there's that little hit of dopamine. For the most part, even if it's someone that you're not necessarily attracted to,
you're like,
you're just like, I found you, and there's and it actually makes for throughout the evening that sort of builds up and builds up and builds up. And that's the kind of theory behind that, as opposed to just if you're sitting in a row of tables, then you know exactly who you're going to date and when you're going to date them throughout the night.
And you're looking down the line being like, not that one.
That's right. And I've been to events where I've been dating and I'm on table 3 and the really attractive girl I want to talk to is at table 17. I think, geez, that's an hour and a half away. I don't know if I'm going to make it, you know?
I can't do it, man. It's too far away.
Oh.
So we'll go to the next.
How did you go with this particular gentleman?
Yeah. So we'll cut back to that.
He kept getting my name wrong.
Stop. If I was on my own, it's like, yeah.
No, it was a language barrier.
Through from the steps. I think that was the last little bit of footage that we got. But because to be honest, things were so organic and kind of
get up
enjoyable.
In space with it.
Yeah, because after recording that too, like it was a bit like, it almost feels like just let things happen.
Yeah, not cramp her style.
Because it's very personal, right?
It is actually.
And while everyone at the event was lovely and there was no issues with any of that sort of stuff, you kind of don't want to distract people from the conversation.
Yeah, because they've only got 8 minutes to get it out.
Yeah,
or
and
whatever.
That's the thing. I had to keep getting interrupted to be like, "Oh, I'm with you next," and I'm like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna have to go. I've got a date with this guy."
That's good.
Sorry.
Did you feel like the Bachelorette, and you were like, "Sorry."
That's really good for my ego.
It's like pulling you in all these directions. And you're like, "I might give you a rose later."
Do you want us to sit down? I've got a really good spot.
Wow,
It was
you
really
feel like
nice.
the queen.
I'm just bringing this up, everyone. Keep talking. You guys are doing
There
great.
also was something that I didn't realize. So there was a lot of people that didn't speak English. So like,
what?
Was it the hot? I can't speak English.
It was it was really nice and refreshing because they were there to meet people and like find love as well. But it was I met someone from Peru, Colombia, 2 gentlemen from Italy. They had beautiful accents.
Yeah,
and it was really nice. And ordinarily, I think on a dating app, I would have been really like, oh, I'm not sure I want to go there. But actually having an authentic conversation with someone actually gave me the confidence to go, actually, I could probably date someone with English not as a first language. And I could like totally see myself dating someone from Colombia because they've got similar morals to me. Yeah, I just never really thought about it until I was put in the situation.
That's interesting to hear that, because I mean, that's obviously the whole reason why we do the face-to-face events, is because everyone has this idea secretly of what they're looking for, and we were talking about this briefly earlier on. People have this kind of checklist or the series of boxes they want to have ticked, etc. But we have so much research and so many stats that show that the person that you might end up with, whether it's for a mini or long-term relationship or a forever relationship, is quite often nothing quite like what you think your type is, or what the preferences that you think that you have when it comes to dating. And those important things can sometimes pale into comparison because they have other things you didn't even they sort of create boxes that you didn't think you wanted ticked.
And it's almost like you need to be there to see it, because if you have these predetermined values, and I guess at Irrelevant Platitudes, we're a bit faux pas because we do actually say like it's good to know, or at least find 3 values in someone that you like, but it's because we spoke about this earlier before. It does make more sense now to have your 3 things that you would find attractive about someone, but these aren't non-negotiables, because as soon as they become non-negotiables,
totally,
that's when you lock yourself off to these sorts of situations.
Absolutely, and there's nothing wrong with having a base understanding of what you're looking for as a guide. Otherwise, it is just the world's a jungle out there. You do need your own sort of self-filter sometimes to be able to do that, but it's okay to be flexible. And over time, and the more
I think it's necessary. It's not absolutely.
The more the more events you go to, the more dates you go on in life in general, you suddenly find yourself going, well, actually this that I thought was pretty important isn't as important as I thought. But there's this other aspect of someone's personality that I've now noticed I've become more attracted to over several dates or relationships or people that I've met over time, that suddenly that sort of takes one of those three values. You know what I mean?
100%.
And I think as
what
well,
values do I take from those names that you didn't have at the start?
So don't put her on the
I would
spot.
never do that to her ever. That's terrible.
How long do we have?
Thank you.
No. Can I just say as well, with the gentleman that didn't speak a lot of English.
Gentlemen, there was more than one.
Yeah. Not that I mean, it's been a long time for me too, but I'm really sensitive to like the written word in the way people communicate. So if some derp is texting me and he's like, "Buh, buh, buh," and it's like not punctuated and there's like you instead of YOU, I'm like, piss off. My children are going to be literate. And I'm like really like,
I did not know she was such a stickler for
like judgy. Like I'm just like, that's
Grammar
a shitty,
Nazi.
like all I have to go by when I'm trying to get to know you through this app or text is the way you're writing to me. And if you're writing to me like you don't give any fucks, or you're writing to me like you're trying to abbreviate to make this the quickest text you've ever sent because there's 15 other girls you're texting. Imagine some poor gentleman who was struggling with English, the quality of text messages he'd be sending me, I'd be like, piss right off. But he's actually lovely.
Actually, now you're making me second guess the guy that's texted me.
But I would have,
because he called my name
but he
wrong.
would have, but he would have never. Perhaps he's
because
lovely.
it's not his first language,
But he
you
would have
banana.
got,
I know, and I'm being so shut up. So
But
I
like
shut
he-
him down, and I was like, I don't want to go there because he called me Lisa. My name's Liz. It's clear as day.
I think that's
And I
fair
was
enough
saying-
though, because
But
it's
it's there.
written on the screen when he sends you a
Yes,
message.
seriously.
So
He's
reached out more than the
I'm with
screen.
you on this one. As much as I want to encourage the
He's reached out more than
Bro.
once though, and I'm like, am I being too harsh? But then at the same time, it's in front of you. You just have to copy
Yeah,
paste.
yeah.
It's
and
not
buddy,
even.
if you're listening, get her name right next time.
I want to fast forward to like next week where we're like, so we found out in Colombia there's the same
Jesus.
word for Lisa and Liz and it's identical. And that's how it
If you've
displays on the
done that,
phone.
sorry,
If you've done that-
man.
If you've done that, I swear to God. I'd
Oh.
cry. Like, what the
He was a sweetheart. He's a sweetheart.
He was
like-
really lovely, but he talked about his ex a lot.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a
so like,
speed date.
yeah, so.
Bro.
Do you get that a bit?
Yeah, he talked about his ex a lot.
I mean,
That's
not that I obviously don't overhear the conversations at the
Yeah.
events, but I imagine it's like
Feedback-wise.
anything. Everyone's been on that date with someone in the past
Yeah,
who
they're just
they
so
keep mentioning their ex, even if it's just to tell a story. But then you just think, wow, you guys did a lot together, didn't you? maybe let's
Like,
But
that is the best way to explain that scenario. So I'm like,
But,
I guess you guys did heaps.
you know what I mean? Like if every travel story is, and then Jen and I went, and then Jen and I, and you just think, all right, Jesus. I mean,
remove that from the.
yeah.
Admit that person.
So I'm actually very conscious when I'm going out dating that any anecdotes that I tell, I try and just use the singular. I try and use I or me as opposed to we were doing this or we were doing that.
100%.
But obviously sometimes it's unavoidable if you're talking about a particular. But they're always
Girls tend to ask,
self-deprecating
so who'd you
stories
go
that I
with?
tell.
Who'd you go with? Who
what
was
are the
there?
chances in the 8 minutes that you have to make an impression and get to know somebody that an ex story has to come up? Like, bro, we've got like 8 minutes,
Yeah, I agree. It shouldn't be done. But this is the beauty of it, though. You had that time with him to decide, okay, well, maybe I'm not going to bother following up with it, as opposed to you could have been chatting to him. You could have been chatting to him online for weeks, and then you meet up for an hour-long date, not just a 10-minute date, and then he spends an hour talking about his ex, as opposed to
And I think that's what's really important about conveying to people with this stuff is that the big thing with dating apps that just have the dating app avenue is you spend all of this extraneous time. You think it's more efficient, but really to queue up a first date, if we look cumulatively, like especially in the younger brackets, how long it takes to line up a date with someone comparative to seeing someone in a room, having a chat for 8 minutes, and then knowing if you're going to have a conversation
just
again.
12 minutes, by the way.
Sorry, 12 minutes. Have we just saying 8 minutes the whole time?
Sorry, that was me. But that's so true. It's actually really efficient.
Yeah, and there is
really
no
good
way
use of
I challenge anyone that can do that in 12 minutes over a dating app that has a sustainable connection that is worth and comparative to something you get from being in person with someone.
I totally agree. I mean, it is. I mean, for years, speed dating's been sold at the concept of it being, look, it's a way of getting a number of dates packed into 2 hours, and it would take you weeks and months to, go on that many dates with that many people, for example. But and that's certainly what we do. But we also like to think that by having a little bit longer, most other speed dating events, you get 3 or 4 minutes with someone, and we were talking about this before the show, that it's basically face-to-face Tinder. You're sitting there and deciding whether or not you're swiping right based on the person's looks. Because it
totally is the same.
3 minutes is a minute and a half of talking each, and that's after you introduce.
That's if you can get a word in, because I like to talk a lot.
You're like, so best of luck.
Yeah, that's right. So we like to think of it's quality over quantity. You get longer with fewer people at the events, but enough so that you don't feel like you have only had 2 dates.
And I guess a key factor though, that at the end of the night, everyone does get to hang out afterwards.
Exactly.
So if there is someone that you wanted to talk to and whatnot, hopefully.
And we encourage that. A lot of the time you actually find that once the event is over and people are in that mingling phase, because you don't meet everyone at a CitySwoon event. You only have a set number of dates. Otherwise, you'd be there till 4 a.m. We run events sometimes up to 400 people, so you'd be there for 3 weeks if you were dating everyone.
That's a big one.
But
invest the time, Liz. Do it.
But you often find that once the pressure's off when it comes to being matched up to someone, and we're being forced into this conversation for 10 or 12 minutes. Once the pressure's off, that's when you can be even more relaxed and yourself, because now you're just having a casual conversation with people in a bar who are also there for the same reason, have just been through the same experience that you have. So cool. So there's a lot more to bond over, and you have this kind of, I like to describe it, when you watch these kind of disaster movies where you have, you have like but you have like a group of, like 8 strangers who are locked in a supermarket together fighting off the zombie hordes kind of thing. And you have this group mentality at the events at the end where everyone's like, well, we've kind of
been through something.
We've been through this, hopefully not traumatically, but it's that same mentality of we're all in this together kind of psychology. So
I didn't actually realize when you were describing how it works with that one, CitySwoon in particular, that it's not just you guys there, obviously, because it can be in a public place, but you're only dating a few people, so you could be like looking for people on your phone, trying to match the photo to the person. And you walk past someone and you're like, I wonder if he's going to be on my list next, and he's
100%.
not.
100%.
And then later you're like, I'm going to go find that guy that I walked past who I didn't end up having a date with.
And
it was like, did you meet that person?
Cool.
You gotta go talk to him. He's a sweetheart. And I'm like, what? It's like, you gotta go meet that guy. Go and speak to him.
There was a few gentlemen that were bailed up by multiple women by the end of the evening.
Yeah, there was like 4 or 5 like hot girls like hovering over these guys, and I was like, it's like, you got to go meet them. I'm like, I'm not competing. There's like 6 girls over there, but like, I'm sure
we don't compete
lovely.
Anyway, sis. We don't compete anyway, sis.
No. I was like, I'll walk past, and if he doesn't catch my eye, then we're going. But like, that's good for him. But there was a few, but it was really nice to see like organic conversations happening after.
Yeah, just
that's cool. People stayed.
To come back to your point, that is the thing. Like you're like, I wonder if I'm going to get matched up to them or not. And then by the end of the night, if it hasn't happened, because you got your limited matches, go over and have a chat, or you can actually message 2 extra people who were there that you didn't date that night.
Girl, I'm getting on the app. My phone is downstairs.
Through the website the next day as well, just for that reason. Just
cool.
We discourage people asking for phone numbers, and it sounds like you gave yours out a few times.
I didn't know that. That was my fault because I didn't know the scenario. I said, just fucking ask for his phone number. He hasn't spoken to you yet. I did not know that. My apologies.
In all honesty,
to be fair, he was incredibly intoxicated when we
were
were leaving.
Yeah.
In all, I mean, we discourage it just because it's mainly discouraging guys from asking ladies for their numbers, because they may feel a little. I
got a nudge from a friend of mine that was there. That was like,
really
just
inappropriate friend.
But so all of the communication is done through the website after the event, and it's done through the chat platform on the website. So we don't exchange email addresses, phone numbers on your behalf.
Beforehand.
So
I do remember the conversation now.
That's really cool, actually, because there's nothing worse than being like, I don't want to give my number, but if I don't, like, I'm.
Yes.
That's the thing. I didn't give my number to one gentleman, and he's reached out multiple times in a week.
In the app?
Yes. And I haven't responded.
But you've got the choice to do that. You have the freedom to be like, no, thank you.
I don't want to give him the polite, like, that's really nice, thank you, see you later, bye. But at the same time, I'm still nulling it over going, he called me Lisa twice. My name's Liz. It's not L-I-Z-A, it's L-A-Z.
But
It's just what's the word?
It was a typo.
He's just dyslexic. He just sees the S as the
auditory
Z.
dyslexic.
But see, I've got too much time to overthink it, so now I've just got to like respond.
Was he Italian? Because, you know, like Lisa. I mean, it could be.
Totally.
No, he wasn't Italian.
No?
He wasn't one of the two gentlemen that I met. That's another thing. On the photos, one of the guys, he looked lovely in his photo, but then I met him and he had like, I think he used a photo that was probably about 15 years old.
I know who we're talking about.
And he was at balding.
Now,
this is a question that I wanted to ask.
Is that the guy that was walking around?
For it,
How does it work? So, because you'll get feedback, right?
Yes.
From people on the night. And they'll say, look, you know, maybe there was, you know, as a short king, there might be a few guys that lie about their height or try and conceal it in photos.
It's not a height thing.
But as a short guy, usually you try and show people.
there is height on the app.
Oh, well, I didn't look at the height. I wasn't looking at his height. I was looking at his hair. And I was like, dude, seriously?
Well, I mean, like with, I guess with any dating app or online dating profile, you can only verify what people put in.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, people sort of self-police, if you like.
Yeah, of course.
But I guess the beauty of this is you can see whether someone's talking bullshit or not
Straight away.
You know, and it comes to like with profile pictures. If someone's used a profile picture that's, you know, heavily filtered ones, we quite often reject anyway. But you know, if they've used a photo that's 15 years old, well,
how do you know that?
We don't know that obviously until they show up to the event, but then at the event, it's kind of going to be self-defeating because everyone who meets that person is like, well, clearly this is an old picture. So it's going to work against you in that way. It's not a dating app in that way. I wonder if he had that experience.
Now I'm thinking in hindsight, like I wonder what his experience is like.
It could very well be. And the other thing is, you know, sometimes it goes the other way. Sometimes there are people, myself included, who just don't take good photos. I'm not a photogenic person.
I feel you.
Yeah, me too.
And
that's why I had to use a photo that was like at an event with professional makeup on.
And so there are people who, you know, like you might see the photo pop up on their phone at the start of the date, and their instant reaction might be not, you know, oh my God, I can't wait for this.
Yeah.
But then they see that person and they're like, oh my God, you're way better in person than, you know, than that photo.
And that's good feedback too, because it's always better to undersell something as obvious as the, you know, your natural kind of first impression, because it's a reverse dopamine here. You're like, oh, holy shit, they're fucking cute as. This is
absolutely
not, you don't take good photos at all, but let's sit down and have a conversation.
But at the same term, you wouldn't take a photo of someone like straight out of a shower with nothing on as a female. I couldn't do that.
No. But I understand for whatever reasons.
I'm saying, like from the neck up.
But the principle still stands. With me,
then I got out of the shower.
But then if you turn up and look stunning,
I learned this this is just a very short side anecdote, but I learned this the really hard way a number of years ago in Sydney, where I was on a couple of dating apps and I was chatting to one girl on each one, and one of them, her photos were absolutely stunning. And the chat was okay. The other one, she was attractive. The banter was off the hook. She was so funny and everything. And she asked me out on a date, but the other girl had asked me out as well. And I'd gone with the other girl and effectively ghosted the not so hot one on the other dating app, which ghosting is, I don't do that anymore. But I went on this date. This is like 5 years ago. And it was just one of the worst, most boring. It wasn't a terrible date. It just, there was no vibe whatsoever. And she didn't look much like her photos in the person.
Oh, you got the double.
False advertising anyway.
And so, okay, like whatever. But then by the time I downloaded that other dating app, I'd been unmatched with, you know, the one who I'd been getting on really well with.
But you were going to go zombie then, because you were going to come back.
Exactly.
Is that what they call it? Is that what it's called?
If you come back from the dead, it's a zombie.
Fast forward 6 months, and I go to a singles event in Sydney, and I walk in, and standing at the bar is one of the most gorgeous women I've ever seen in my entire life. And then I go, oh my God, it's Nadine from, you know, Bumble or whatever it was. And it was the girl that I ghosted, and I had to then go and have a 4-minute speed date with her. And I sat down. She was Irish. I sat down and I was like, "Hey Nadine, I'm Chris," and she goes, "I know who the fuck you are."
That's fantastic.
I was like, "Oh, I was hoping you weren't going to remember." And she went, "You fucking ghosted me." So we're going to have a 4-minute conversation. That's the last I'll ever hear from you. Kind of fair play, because I did not.
That was a very good Irish accent.
Yeah,
I was not. I was totally in the wrong, and she was honestly absolutely incredibly gorgeous. And
how did the conversation go? I want to know.
Yeah, that 4
with
minutes.
all of my soul. Was it the worst 4 minutes of your life?
It was one of the most awkward 4 minutes in my life. And this is from someone who can normally talk to just about anyone in any situation. But there was no coming back from this. And she had every right to be, because we'd been vibing. Yeah, I know. And so that one incident taught me such a great lesson in my personal life, but I've taken that into the professional scenarios. And I've told that story to so many people, just saying you literally cannot judge a book by its cover. I've lived through, and we've all had experiences like that, but not many people actually see it in the flesh 6 months later. Do you know what I mean?
Actually, it comes back to haunt you, zombie style.
But I guess, look, we've learned about Liz and the situation and stuff, but we want to get to know a bit more about you, dude. So
here we go.
Yeah. So tell us a bit about Chris. What's your situation at the moment? Single, ready to mingle, seeing someone, kind of?
Not single, not ready to mingle. I've recently started seeing someone, a couple of months, relatively early days.
Congratulations.
But yeah, thank you. No, she's lovely. So she puts up with my bullshit anyway.
That's what you've got to find.
So far. So no,
she does also.
She's I won't say her name because she's not shy, but and she's far from shy. But
don't fucking mention me on the podcast.
Exactly. It's bad enough doing what I do for a living, trying to meet someone who doesn't know about it, before they meet you. But
as someone whose girlfriend allows them to have a dating and relationships podcast, I understand. She's a keeper, and don't let her go.
No, she's lovely. So we're sort of just getting to know each other, which is great.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, perfect.
Nice. Really
so with
and I'm punching really hard too.
That's understandable. That's the only way to go, right? Like, so with that said, I guess, Liz, how did you feel at the end of the entire evening? Everything was done and dusted. You've had your conversations with many men, as we've so found out,
and females. Because
because you had some long-lasting,
between the dates, if there wasn't enough guys, they met up when we had friends dates, which I found just as beneficial because I got to meet girls that are in a similar situation to me that have been doing dating for a while, and we were just.
And it's almost as good as a date, right?
Really?
Yeah.
Of like, this is really good. Oh, did you meet that guy yet? Because, oh my God, did you smell his breath? There was one particular guy that we're like, how do you offer him really politely a breath mint? Because he needs one.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think someone should have, if not for yourself.
I just want to make it clear that can happen in any part of society. Not just
it was really nice to authentically meet women that were in the same situation as me. So I actually exchanged numbers with one of the girls and was like, next time you go, let's do this together. We can go together to the next one.
I think one of the greatest emails we've ever received was from a lady in, I think it was San Diego, and she emailed us saying she'd been to one of our events. I think maybe our launch event. I was actually there for it, and she met one other woman at this event, and they were on a friends date because a couple of guys hadn't shown up, and our system pairs people together if there's uneven balance. And she did not want to be there, but she had just thought, I'm just going to give this a go. And she got on really well with this lady, but she ended up really hitting it off with one of the guys there who did not tick any of the boxes that she thought she had. Like, he was shorter than her, he was balding, he was like name it was not what she was looking for.
Yeah.
But 18 months later, or maybe a couple of years later, she and this lady who she'd become best friends with had a double wedding with two guys that they met at that CitySwoon event that night.
Crazy.
Which was like the greatest thing. I was like, this could have been written by me as
marketing employee.
100%.
It was a great campaign.
It was.
Could have been on the pamphlets.
It was just the greatest. And she sent us this lovely photos and everything, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. Can we put this on the website? No.
So that's impactful. It's an impactful job. If you're seeing and helping people make connections like that, that is a
it is. And for Louise, who's one of the co-founders and like I say, the chief technical officer who does all of the programming, an absolute genius. For her, I think it's even more special because it's just lines of code that she deals with every day.
Yeah.
So her lines of code produce these real life results that actually, we hear back from people and we find out about it, which is amazing. So
shape the future of people's entire lives, basically. Like, what a purpose.
Exactly. And it's all come from her brain. You know, I can sit there and do all of the sales and marketing that I want and every other little bit and piece that I do, but it didn't come from I didn't create it. You know,
don't sell yourself short though, because it's everyone involved in the process.
Totally.
Right from the people that meet you when you come in, they're super warm. They make you feel super comfortable. They make sure that if anyone feels uncomfortable, they're in there, kind of filling that gap. I think that the little changes and the little things you make in someone's dating experience, even if it's not just they're meeting the person of their dreams, but giving them the chance to understand that, oh, maybe this is what I'm looking for. Maybe I can go out and speak to that person at the bar. That you guys are giving all these little tiny benefits that a lot of people don't understand from these events that you don't get at normal speed dating, app dating. You guys have found this awesome hybrid where you've mashed everything together, and there's so much benefit from one of these events. That to everyone listening, I think if you're in a weird spot with dating, I think go to one of these events and just see for yourself. You can go to one, and then I guarantee you, if you don't find something to learn, you need to email me. We need to have a conversation because there's some stuff you're not listening to.
I 100% learned a lot.
There's so many different avenues.
I learned a lot from the guys I met, the girls I met. The hosts, I had a nice chat with one of the hosts.
Yeah.
And she gave me her insight as well.
Yeah.
It was just a really nice vibe, and it gave me the confidence. I think that's important too. Like it gives
I've seen it change you in this last week.
Yeah, it gives you the confidence, and then I'm like looking at like, what do I wear to my next date?
That's amazing to hear.
Yeah, it just builds your confidence to go, you know what, I want to go on I want to do this again, but I also know that if I was going to go to a bar tomorrow, I'd be able to go up to someone and go, hi, you've got beautiful eyes. I just thought I'd come and tell you that. And my name is Liz. How are you? Are you having a good time?
And trust me, from a guy's perspective, that's probably going to get at the very least a drink and a chat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's...
Or even just making someone's day. Like it's... And you understand now the context as well of like when it's okay to say that and when not. Because from a guy's perspective, I think a lot of dudes are very scared now with approaching and kind of that sort of... I don't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable. I
don't want to ruin their night. They look like having a night. Yeah.
So being in these sorts of scenarios, you can gauge, even from a person that's ready to kind of, accept being spoken to and whatnot, what's acceptable and what's not. It's a good starting point. And the amount of guys that right after that event were vibing and like, oh, we're going to go out. Like, what are you guys doing?
Everyone was asking, what are you doing now? Where are you going?
Yeah.
I'm freaking going home, man. It's 10 o'clock at night and I don't know you.
Yeah.
But it's been lovely chatting and maybe we'll talk tomorrow. Like, calm down. Calm.
I was going to ask you if you went home by yourself.
You'd be very... So she went home with a Maltese guy.
What?
I didn't actually go straight home.
No, she drove me to Steph's house.
Yes.
Those Maltese boys, you got to watch them.
It actually gave me the confidence. No, because not only that, like I haven't been on a date I can't even remember. I don't even want to put a number to it because that'll just depress me. But like even just to stay out late and like do something for me, like I haven't done that in such a long time. And I think COVID's got a lot to answer for as well.
What we were saying,
it was so nice to get out there and just be me, and I forgot what I felt like going out.
Yeah, that's
does that make sense? Like now I do. Like I feel like the old Liz before, 2009 is back, and it's really nice to see her and feel her and be her, and it's
Yeah, that's...
So thank you guys.
What a bloody gift.
That's
amazing.
Obviously our pleasure, and hopefully a lot more people feel like that as well, because that is the thing we were sort of chatting about earlier on. It's a great way of just dipping your toe back into the dating pool again if you've been out of it for a while, or if you're just out of practice. Obviously COVID, people were, shut up for ages. And
a lot of people were saying that. They're like, it's nice to get out there and talk to someone in person.
And particularly at the moment, I mean, we have seen since around probably April last year, we have seen an absolute boom in bookings and business, and we're putting on more and more events than we ever did pre-COVID.
Yeah.
and a lot of it, you speak to people and they just say, I'm seeing this just as a social.
Really
if I meet someone, great, but otherwise, I'm just happy getting out here and meeting someone.
Yeah, that's what I think some of the international people that I met were saying. They're like, it's a really good way for me to meet other people.
Same thing with military boys. You had a couple of guys that were down being stationed somewhere else. Like it's a really good like staging point to sort of kind of get in there and make the connections. guys were talking to other guys too. It's
and Australian dating and suburbs, and I'm not sure. I'm obviously live in Sydney, but I'm sure Melbourne's very similar. But you get these like little bubbles and little cliques where people stay in their own suburbs and they date within the same dating pool, and it's you know, you go to a house party and there's all these couples there, and they've all been with each other at various points in the previous 10 to 12 years, you know. And so you'll find a lot of people just go, you know, in Sydney, for example, right, I want to get out of the Bondi bubble. I'm going to go to an event that's in North Sydney or something and just meet people who are completely different to my lifestyle. And, you know, I don't mind meeting them from all sorts of walks of life. And
I think that's one of the beauties about dating in this day and age. And that's why the sentiments of something like CitySwoon is so important, because we preach the same thing. You know, we want the people that you date to be a choice. We don't want these people to be just a proxy of a friend who was at a party. We want these people to be genuine connections that you've chosen to speak to, that allow you that kind of space. If you're looking at these limited pools that we have, you're effectively going to date someone that by chance is single at the same time as you, that knows someone. You know, how is that supposed to be a genuine match for you?
Exactly. That's it. That's the ever shrinking pool. That's, you know, the dregs at the bottom, you know, when the swamp's been drained kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's also, there's you know, what we're offering back in the days, you know, you speak to like, you know, the generation above us, our parents and all that. You know, Friday and Saturday night, a group of fellas and a group of girls would go out and you'd go to the club or the bar or the pub or wherever it was. And then that's how a lot of them sort of met each other. And that's kind of gone away now, particularly with COVID. You don't find those groups of, you know, ladies going out together on Fridays and Saturday nights. The fellas still are.
Yeah.
And they're looking around going, where's all the women? But the women are going to bottomless brunches and they're home and hosed by 6 p.m. You know, with a glass of wine and a pizza.
Yeah. I can agree. Yes, we are.
But what we're doing now is we're sort of offering that communal sense of, you can come along, even if you're on your own, you still feel like you're part of a group of girls who's coming along to the event.
Yes.
And the fellas are there. So it's bringing back that old school, obviously in a modern way, how we do it, but it's that old school. It's not just a speed dating event. There's that, I'm just going to a bar with a bunch of people and we're going to hang out and we're going to meet each other and we're going to chat to each other.
And I guess anecdotally to people listening, because you've mentioned that and it just jerried to me that would be pretty intimidating to go on your own to something like that. Just so everyone that's listening knows, the majority of people were there on their own.
Yeah.
There was very few, obviously with excluding us, were there, but everyone else, I think maybe one or two people went with a friend to the event. But the majority of people are there kind of doing their own thing. And I think it's A, liberating, and B, puts you in that right space to kind of make genuine connections, almost forces you.
You're out of your comfort zone and you can either stand and be a wallflower or stand in the corner, or you just go over and talk to someone or someone will come over and talk to you. You know, sometimes you might not even have that.
No,
I was never alone.
And that's the thing, you know, you're forced into it. And you see sometimes where, let's say you're booked in with a girlfriend and then she cancel on you last minute, but then you decide, fuck it, I'm going to go on my own and give it a crack. And quite often you'll find that the people who do that last minute going on their own when they're expecting to be with a friend end up saying, I actually kind of prefer the fact that she wasn't here with me tonight, because I didn't have that safety net of during the break, I can just go over and we can sit there. And the other thing as well is you can find that, you know, someone can talk you out of maybe following up with someone. That's because
there's all these extra social pressures and things that kind of are the old you to an extent, if you're trying to find that new you, that can hold you back from something that's fantastic.
So
you know?
It's like traveling on your own.
Yeah.
They say that you're forced to think for yourself and be who you really are, because you just run out. That's really cool.
Yeah,
100%. Look, well, fucking, how long have we gone for now? We're almost at an hour. Told you, see, 45 minutes blows way over. Thanks for coming and joining us, Chris. Where can everyone find CitySwoon? So how would you guys like them to contact you guys, get involved, get signed up?
Yeah, just get signed up. Just look up cityswoon.com.au, or if you're in the US, cityswoon.com. And that's, we're in all the major cities in Australia. We're in 14 cities in the US now, with further
international team.
Wow.
Further 3 to come online. 3 cities next month. So yeah, cityswoon.com. It takes 5 minutes to fill out a free profile and then just see which events are coming up that you want to, have a go. There's lots of different age ranges, different parts of the cities that we're in, different nights of the week. Something to suit everyone, hopefully. So.
And if it's anything like Melbourne, there's nights bloody every day of the week. I had a look at when we were trying to sort this. It was crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, and if you want to hang out with 300 singles, we've got a huge event
the
happening
big boys
in Melbourne.
Coming up.
I'm so going.
Yeah, go Liz.
So end of August, look it up.
I'm gonna go.
Yeah,
End of August.
Oh god,
Get amongst it.
gonna help me find an outfit, guys. It's gonna be a team.
Done.
No, we'll do that.
Done.
There can be another episode.
I'll be down for that. So even if we'll have a few drinks together at the end of that, I'll be running that one. So
Do it.
I mean, like the secret spy. Tell you what happens.
Oh, mate, you know what? This is the one story where I think
and cover it. That'd be so sick.
we'll just catch up with
Take
Liz
the
afterwards.
viewers.
We'll have a whole episode seeing how she's found the love of her life, and
Oh yeah.
she's ready
I'll be
to
like, show
settle
us the
back down.
ring.
yeah, then I'm coming to the wedding 100%.
Yeah,
yeah,
you're like,
absolutely.
God damn it. Put it on the website. It's a testimonial.
You could put it on the website.
test.
You have
Great.
my permission before it's even happened.
All right, guys. Well, that's us done for this week. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope everyone had as much fun as I did. Chris, mate, thank you so much for coming down from
My
Sydney.
pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
It was fucking fantastic.
So good.
Obviously, you guys know to catch these guys at cityswoon.com.au for the Australian events.
Yep.
And CitySwoon AU on Instagram. We are, obviously, you fucking found us, but it's IrrPlatPod on everything. If you haven't followed us on YouTube and all the other stuff, do the bells, the clicks, the likes, and all that sort of stuff. And we will see you guys next week.
What are you waiting for?
I'm waiting. The car's cold. Get
Get the fuck out of here! What? Fucking warm it up. Get out of here!
All right.
You heard the man. Get out of here. Thanks for listening to Irrelevant Platitudes.
Mm.